Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip Committee meeting. Today's March 29th, 2021. We'll call this meeting order at 7:31 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Zielinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez? Here. Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Nava-Esparza? Here. Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a lot on our agenda this evening, so my report for once is short.
We have a bid opening, Mayor. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This is the bid opening for
Bid
the
opening?
insurance. There was one bid received. It is from Horton at 10320 Orland Parkway, Orland Park, Illinois 60467. Trustee Murphy, you had said just the summaries, the dollar amounts?
Yes, please.
So on page 5, under cost summary, general liability, public officials, law enforcement, legal liability, EPLI, auto, and umbrella, $315,775. Workman's compensation, $453,347. So total is $769,122. So again, general liability, public officials, law enforcement, legal liability, EPLI, auto, umbrella, $315,775. Workman's compensation is $453,347. So the total premium is $769,122. Is that all you wanted, Trustee Murphy?
Yes, please.
And that concludes the bid opening, Mayor Ryan.
All right. Mayor's report, starting with obviously my reports. Just want to report to everybody, this past Monday, March 22nd, our new HR manager, Charles Carell, started here at the Village Hall. Charles is doing very well. He's established he's come in and established himself well, hit the ground running. We've had a couple of insurance matters he's helped resolve quickly. And Shanae Hunter did offer her services if we wish to retain her on a remote basis. But, Joyce, I don't see the need for that just yet. I think Charles has been doing all right. What's your opinion?
I'm not familiar with that job
Mm-hmm.
in its entirety.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, one more month with Shanae, I think would be worthwhile.
Well, Shanae did say she'd make herself available if we want her to. So as it stands now, I don't believe we've had to reach out to her, but if we do, I'll let the board know. Okay. Next, I'd like to remind everybody, I can bring it back up under communications, but our annual cleanup day is April 24th. We are looking for volunteers. Obviously, we had a heck of a winter, and with all the snow now that melted and so forth, and the winds that we've had sporadically too, we need a good cleaning around here. And Public Works is doing its best to keep up, but we'd really like help from the public, as we do every year then too. So April 24th. And Becky, I don't have the flyer in front of me. What's the hours on that again? 9 in the morning till noon. And certainly if you feel like staying longer, it's always appreciated. Let's put it that way. So thank you. And that's all I have for the evening. We'll have clerk report.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. The presentation of the February 2021 IDOT motor fuel tax allotment in the amount of $52,676.37. We have presentation of a bunch of minutes for review so that we can approve them next week. They are the minutes from September 28th, 2020 committee meeting, October 13th, 2020 committee meeting, October 26, 2020 committee meeting, November 9th, 2020 committee meeting, and November 30th, 2020 committee meeting. And then we have the February 22nd, 2021 committee meeting for a couple weeks ago, March 8th, 2021 committee meeting from 3 weeks ago, and the March 8th special board meeting from 2021 as well. And then last would be the presentation of the February 2021 FOIA report. And March is even busier than February was. And that is all I have, Mayor Ryan.
All right, thank you. Next, we have
Mayor,
the...
I have a question
Yeah.
about the minutes, because it kind of feels like we're on the twilight zone where we're looking at minutes still being presented for the first time from 2020. So my question is, when will we be caught up?
I am 99% sure that November 30th is the last one because we had December's earlier in January.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have the public forum? Did anyone in the audience wish to address the board this evening? Nobody? All right, then we'll have the standing committee reports, starting with Finance and IT. Trustee McGlawhorn.
All right, as usual, we'll have the list of payroll and accounts payable for approval. Next, we have approval of the February finance report. And then next, and then so for the next four, I'm going to turn it over to Joyce. We have the ARA FFRCA extension, the MCOA addendum for the ambulance collections, lease versus buy for the clerk's printer, and time clock plus implementation. So it's all yours, Joyce.
My eyes are better than yours.
You got to hold that mode button down, Murph.
Mute button?
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
On the finance reports, the one thing I want to bring to your attention, there's 2 pages that you should probably look at. Page 8, but it's actually in the number of documents, it's page 8, but if you look at the page number that's on the report, it's page 5. And I have highlighted the general fund revenues for the month. Oh. I have highlighted the totals. The actual revenue that we brought in the general fund for the month of February was $2,151,370. And then the other thing I want to point out to you is page 72.
Is it page 72 of the report?
No, it's page 33 of another report that's attached. But it's page 72 of the document. And that shows that we have expenses of $1,496,303. So we are ahead of the game, roughly $600,000 for the month of February. Just wanted to make you all aware of that. So now, unless anyone has questions, I'm moving on to the FRACA extension. This is the extension to allow for folks to get paid sick leave. Oh.
Chris, did that die out? Yeah, use that. Yeah, please. Thank you.
Okay. So this is to allow for additional paid sick leave, just as we had from March to December of last year, although there are a few changes. This would allow for those getting a COVID shot and also recovering from a COVID shot. The difference with this is that we're only going to get the credit for the Medicare portion of our Social Security payments. And that's 1.45%, as opposed to the Social Security credit that we were receiving. So I don't, and also the buckets reset on April 1st, so that everybody gets another 80 hours of paid sick leave. So I'm not sure that I see a benefit that much to the village right now. That's my opinion. So this is something you guys will have to think about for voting on. I've opted out right now with Paylocity. If this changes, I'll put it back in, because Paylocity needed an answer by April 1st.
They need an answer by April 1st, even though it was just passed on March 11th? Okay.
They instituted it. They were going to set up reset all everybody's buckets on April 1st. And I really didn't want to reset those buckets, so I opted out of the credit for us. Any questions?
I'm sorry, Joyce, I was just making a note one more time. What's the deadline on that decision?
April 1st.
Well, it gets implemented April 1st.
That's why I opted out right now.
Yeah.
We can institute it. I mean, it's not like we are permanently out of it or anything.
Certainly, we don't have a meeting between now and then to even vote on
No.
that stuff. So as you said, we don't have much of a choice. And we just got that information, too?
Yes,
Okay.
last week.
Okay. So we'll revisit that at the next committee meeting. Okay.
Well, we should be voting on that
That's what I'm saying.
at the board meeting,
Yeah.
yeah. Moving on, unless there's other questions. MCOA, Municipal Collections of America. Okay, let me back up and give you the background. So the fire department is changing from the third-party collector that they had to, and they want to change to MCOA, which MCOA is currently our collections company for our violations and our parking tickets and our red light violations. They also offer the ability to do a third-party collection for ambulance billing. They already interface with Andres, which is our current ambulance billing company, and so there's an addendum that would be added to the contract. I've included the original contract as well as the addendum for you to read. The addendum's like one statement. So and right now we don't, are we currently collecting third party? Are we doing any third party? Chief?
We're using Depend-On right now, as we've been using for the last several years, so we'd like to switch and use it as the same with the other village, or the other parts of the village, so
I
it's all
think-
the same.
I think it would work well, yeah. This is a situation where they will collect 25%. They will charge us 25% of whatever they collect. They take it out of whatever they collect. So that's what the fee would be. There's no upfront charge, nor is there any charge just to retain them. Any questions?
Chief, what's, I'm sorry, I'm trying to catch, we got so many packets here in front of us, too, with these. Cost-wise, RFP for this stuff, Chief? I mean,
No, we use Andres. Andres our ambulance billing, but if anything goes uncollected for a year, we usually send it to a collections agency.
okay.
So it's the fallout if they're unable to collect anything. And Andres does a pretty good job of collecting. They're only going to go so far for so long, so we have benchmarks in there that go to a collection agency.
Understood. What do you think the volume is on that, Chief? Any idea?
Not off the top of my head. It varies from year to year. Some years we have really good years, and some years there's a few here and there.
Okay.
Not a whole lot.
We've never had a problem with MCOA. They've done a good job with us before and stuff,
Yes.
too. So, okay. I mean, we're not going over $20,000 in cost of their
Oh,
services
no,
and stuff
no.
yet, too, so. Okay. Right.
Okay, moving on to the clerk's printer. So this is a lease versus buy. The current lease that we were presented with from Proven was $27,000 over a 5-year period. And I've tried to do as much apples to apples as I could to show you the number of copies that included, both black and white and color. And then with the buy situation, Proven and Copier Dynamics both submitted quotes for that. And I'm showing the savings on the right-hand side over a 5-year period. So I'm trying to keep it as, the same across the board. And I'll let you take a look at those numbers and we'll make a decision next week.
What would your recommendation be, Joyce?
Well, I definitely think we should buy. The costs are drastically lower. As an example, and I'm talking approximate here, the police copier that's a black and white printer copier, it is high speed. We are currently paying, I think it's $629 a month right now. We're going to be able to buy that machine for a little under $6,000, and we're going to be paying roughly $40 a month in maintenance.
Okay. Instead of $7,500 annual, we're going to cut it down to $6,000 one time,
Yes.
basically. Okay. So would your recommendation be Copier Dynamics or Proven? I mean, I'm looking at significantly higher savings if we go with Copier Dynamics.
That is correct. Yes. The difference is that Proven was going to would bill us on a quarterly basis for any of the copies that we use based on that price that's up there, whether it's black and white or color. So therefore, their monthly cost is up because of that, and it varies, of course, because of the number of copies that you do. Whereas with Copier Dynamics, those copies are included in that monthly price. So Copier Dynamics has also indicated that they are willing to bucket all of our copies so that if one month Clerk is using more than Public Works, that's fine. Then Public Works will have more excess in another couple of months. So it's all in one big bucket. And it's roughly about 130,000 copies total between the police department and Public Works, or Fire and Clerk. So that's just an idea. And that monthly cost was roughly $383 a month. So we purchased these machines, and now we're paying $383 a month for the maintenance on those 3 machines, as opposed to $629 and $400 and something for yours.
Yep.
And Fire is $429, I think, something like that. So considerable savings to go that way. Now, that does mean we have to buy that machine up front. So we're going to have to spend $10,180 to purchase that machine. I'd like to do it in this fiscal year because next fiscal year we've got 4 more copier printers to purchase. Those will all be under all of it together will be under $20,000 in fiscal year 22.
So, obviously, if you're bringing this up, we've got money allocated for that then right now, appropriated for that?
To purchase this machine, we do not have money allocated for it. We had been paying for, the lease expired in December or January for this. So we're kind of running on borrowed time with this thing right now. We'll find the money. We're getting ready to do an appropriations update for year end, so this would be an ideal time to put a budget line in there and put this in there.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay.
Joyce, and just for the benefit of the board too, you and I talked about this copier purchase, and as you said, I just want to reiterate one more time, these are apples to apples between both
It's
companies.
as close to apples as I could get. I know that the proven IT quote had, for leasing, the number of copies was a little bit different,
Okay.
just by 1,000 or so. But it's as close as I could get to say they're equal.
What are the consumables?
They provide toner in that monthly maintenance fee. Both companies did.
And cartridge as well? Toner, and then there's that finisher or whatever?
That includes all maintenance.
But we would continue to buy paper and staples and...
Correct.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, they don't provide that. Okay, so the last thing I have is the Time Force situation that we're facing, and Time Force has notified us that they are no longer going to be supporting their product as of June 30th of this year. Now, I've had Brian look into it. This is a cloud-based product, and they are pretty much shutting it down on June 30th. So, we know we've been talking about Time Clock Plus, and so I've had several conversations with various and sundry people, Brian included, Heather included, to determine if we can do this. And so what we talked about was going to paper timesheets for the month of July. This is only going to be for these folks that use Time Force. So we're talking about Village Hall time clock people, and we're talking about Public Works time clock people. So even with the temporary seasonal folks, we're talking at a max 60 people. So it's not a huge amount. So we were looking at going to paper timesheets in July. That would give us time to put in the new time clocks. The new time clocks are going to have a screen where you can punch in, you can swipe your badge, or you can use your fob. We looked at the biometrics. I talked to Charles about it. Charles did not recommend it because anyone that has too long of fingernails or anybody that puts lotion on, it distorts and it won't read. So it was a fingerprint reader. And so we're thinking probably not to get that because it just causes too many problems. So we're looking at then having a month to test, implement the time clock machines, and then go live on August 1st. By doing it this way, over the original quote, it's going to save us $3,400 for the implementation itself. So that means that the police and the fire could come on in December and January. So it would be a slower implementation, but we would eventually get everybody there. So let me go to that. I'll blow that up a little bit. Where's my plus? So we're looking at implementation for a 60 employee license is $3,900 with a discount of $585. Hardware and support $608. That's for the time clocks. There's the actual time clocks themselves, $4,000 with a discount of $403. And then implementation services, roughly 20 hours for $3,000. So the total implementation for 60 employees is $10,590. We're looking at an annual fee for those 60 of roughly $3,300 a year. So that is equivalent to the cost of one Alad Tech. Once we get everyone on here, the total annual cost will be $8,400. We pay $3,600, roughly $3,600 for Alad Tech for both the police department and the fire department. So, and I think Time Force is about $177 a month, something like that. So it's going to be pretty equivalent to what we're paying now for our 3 different systems.
Yeah, because like you said, last time I saw those contracts, chiefs, it's $3,600 each, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
So this does employee scheduling?
Yes,
And
and this includes the scheduling.
Joyce, and I know, just again, for the benefit of the board and everybody watching, I know you met with the chiefs, and gentlemen, you guys are okay with that too? With this?
We're still waiting for how many fire departments are using this system right now to see if
Oh.
it's going to work for us.
Okay.
I'll definitely get that back to you.
Okay, good, Chief.
And we also talked about for us is the shift commander signing everybody in for the day instead of everybody going into their own. It makes life a whole lot easier. So, because we don't have no physical time clocks by us.
Correct.
So,
We're not purchasing a time clock for
Right.
you.
okay.
Police department, it sounds like we're going to generate your timesheets off of your schedule, correct? Okay. So I'm looking to move forward with this. We got to start putting some plans in place because the implementation is going to start yes. They guesstimate about 60 days. So we're looking at June 1st, starting this to implement. Any other questions? That's all the time I have to take up for you tonight. Thank you.
That was easier than I thought. I mean, there was a lot of paper there. I was reading and stuff there too. You know, so.
If you have questions,
mean
that's
this?
fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank
Awful
you,
lot of reading
Thank you,
there.
Joyce. And yeah, next meeting, we'll get back to the Families First Act. And, yeah, exactly, and stuff like that too. Okay.
Could we get a list of the 60 employees and where they're situated on?
Some of those are going to be temp seasonals that we haven't hired yet, but we can show the positions. Yeah.
Thank you.
And also the non-union employees would start clocking in too, such as myself. So.
Very good. Thank you. Trustee McLaurin, anything else?
No, excuse me. I think that was enough under finance.
All right. We'll go to Fire Committee report. Trustee Murphy.
I have a request to place a packet for bidding for a mini squad as proposed for this upcoming budget year. And number two, I have a request to place a packet for bidding for a replacement ambulance. Number three, I have discussion for creating an ordinance for cost recovery of extinguishing systems for solar panels, PV systems. And Chief Szynski is going to talk about that.
All right, let me address the first two. So in this year's budget, we do have a replacement ambulance. The ambulance that we're looking at replacing, the box is 20 years old, the chassis is 10 years old. It was due to be replaced last year. Right now, with the supply and demand that's out there, we're looking at 10 months away of building a brand new ambulance compared in the past, which was between 3.5, 4 months. So we want to try to get ahead on this as much as we can. Same thing with the mini squad. They're about 9 months out right now. So again, we're trying to get ahead a little bit. Otherwise, we're looking at almost towards the end of this fiscal year when we take delivery of both. And obviously, our maintenance costs keep going up. So we're trying to reduce our maintenance costs. And the sooner we can get this equipment, the sooner we'll start saving money on the maintenance cost of it. So again, we're just at the mercy of the manufacturers, and they're all about the same right now. So you can't get anything quick anymore in manufacturing. So we're trying to get ahead of it. Hopefully everything's going good in the budget, at least to get a packet out there to bid. And then obviously nothing will be back until after May 1st, and hopefully the budget's passed and we can move on, and hopefully we can come up with a award winner, but at least get the bidding out and see who our competitors out there is what I'm looking at doing.
Okay.
We're not committed to anything once we take the bid. It's just for information, and at least we have who we're going to go with if everything passes.
So, Trustee Murphy, first off, go ahead. Your thoughts on this. It's your committee.
Well, after looking at and meeting with the chief and signing off on all these maintenance costs that it's huge. It's every week. There's something somewhere. And if we could reduce those even a little bit, it would, I think this mini squad would pay for itself. We were going to do it last year, and it got put off because of the COVID reductions that we implemented. But I think it would be a good thing if we could hold off on, a new fire truck is $1.4 million.
$650,000.
Yeah, for our pumper truck. And
The pumper.
I totally agree with you, and the chief knows. I look at every single bill that we approve here, every single check, and I agree. It's the maintenance on those big trucks are just horrible. And they are carrying a little bit of water with them, and these mini squads. Chief, how much water are you going to bring with you?
300 gallons.
Okay, that's enough for car fires and things like that and stuff.
Prairie fires, minor car fires for auto accidents, stuff like that. So it's going to be designed to probably run about 60-75% of our fire apparatus that we're running right now. So we use it on EMS calls, we use it on vehicle accidents, prairie fires, carbon monoxide, natural gas leaks, anything we don't have to run the big engines on.
So, and again, Chief, just for the benefit of the board and everybody listening, the benefit not only maintenance-wise, but again, ladies and gentlemen, when you're using a lighter duty, now, again, what series? Are we going with 550? We're going with the 1-ton?
550, Ford 550 chassis, correct.
Okay, so it's a little more than a 1-ton system, so it's a nice heavy truck, but nowhere near as heavy as that big fire truck is that follows the ambulance all the time, because the crews do work together. In the event something comes up, we can always call the other house to meet us with a big truck and stuff then, too.
Correct. And the other thing, it benefits, at least it gives us an engine crew, so if we do get a fire call, at least there's an engine crew available. Right now, if we get back-to-back calls, we have nothing available. We have to rely on somebody else coming in, and everybody around us is just as busy as we are, and they may or may not be able to respond. We just have to keep going down the line to find somebody.
And it's a great thing about your service, too, the fire service in general, too, because I know over the years that I've been here, occasionally you've been tied up on certain calls, and I've actually seen like the chief from like Crestwood come in and assist and run a call here and stuff like that, too. So, we've got backup, but again, we're looking at efficiency and certainly dollars at the end of the day and stuff, too. Those big trucks, about the big ladder truck, just maybe in the last 4 or 5 months when we found those silver dollar sized chunks of metal in there. We had to take have the axles rebuilt on that thing and stuff.
And
that's
it's
horrible.
not cheap.
Yeah.
Nope, it's not cheap at all. It's a fuel. They'll save in fuel costs as well. So there's a lot of savings to it.
Right. Okay.
Next one is discussion of an ordinance for solar panels, or called PV system, is photovoltaic systems. Speaking to Roger, we have roughly 90 houses right now that have solar panels, and every week there's like 2 or 3 more that are coming in. We also have some commercial buildings. So the first commercial building was the M1 garage, the tollway garage. Most people don't see the top of it, but about 75% of that roof is covered with solar panels. We have another business that's looking at putting about 80% of solar panels on the roof, and it's going to keep growing for the theory of saving electric costs, however that works out. The problem is the hazards that people don't realize is, what if those devices catch on fire? There's a way for us to disconnect the power from where it's coming off the roof to where it's going into the building, but we have nothing that takes care of it on top of the rooftop itself. There's only one product that's out there right now. It's called PV Stop. It comes out of Australia. They're marketing in the United States right now, and down the road I'm sure you'll see some more manufacturers in the United States. Speaking to one of the distributorships that are out of Long Island, New York, and I'm just using Australia for the example, so they're about 4 or 5 years ahead of us on light solar panels from where we're at, and they're seeing almost 1 incident a day. A couple years ago it was 1 incident a month, now it's 1 incident a day. They get older, get lots of use, they start failing along the way. We have no way of putting out solar panels if they do catch on fire. We have no way of stopping the electricity that's being generated at the solar panels right now, as long as the sun is out. So the product that we use is called PV Stop. It comes in about a 2.5-gallon pressurized extinguisher. It covers 350 square feet, and it's about $450. With shipping, I'm sorry, it's $400. With shipping is $450. There's nothing else that's out there right now. I understand people want to save energy costs and electric bill and everything else, but the salesmen are pretty good out there. They don't explain what the hazards are, and unfortunately, we have to deal with the hazards part of it. So the ordinance that I'm proposing addresses those issues. The first part of the ordinance is, the proposed ordinance is any new contractor that comes in town to install one of these solar systems, or solar panel systems, is they're assessed another $450 fee to purchase one of these for us. We already purchased 2. We don't know how many incidents we're going to run into over a period of time. So we want to make sure that we have enough on hand, so if we do use one, we have one available without having to wait for to order another one. Right now, the cost, like I said, is $450. I would imagine over the time, as it becomes more popular in the United States and there's more manufacturers, it will go down. So it's based on what the current rate is at that time. Also, for the cost recovery part, so if we do happen to use it on an incident somewhere, that we're able to bill to replace that device as well. The last part of it is the commercial buildings. Most of your homes have small enough solar panel systems that one extinguisher will cover it, so it's not a problem with residential. The problem with commercial is you're looking at large systems. They usually have several lines that are called array. Array is one whole system. So we're looking at requiring that the businesses have these devices on hand to at least cover one line of solar panels. So if the solar panels, if the line is 350 square feet or less, they only need one of these. If it's up to 700 square feet, 2 of them, so on and so forth. And we'd work with the businesses on where to store them on premise, so we have them available to us if we need it. So yeah, that's about it for it. So again, we're looking at what's going to happen down the road. Like I said, they've been popular and they're going to keep popping up. We just got to find a way to tackle that hazard.
Chief, you and I talked, but I know that your department took some training a couple of seasons ago with local 134 electricians. Have we had any situations where we haven't been able to cut the power and so forth then too on these things?
No, luckily enough, we haven't had any incidents involving these systems yet. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And one of my biggest fears is if we have a structure fire that involves this system, we have no way of accessing the roof. You have more weight that's on the roof that the roof was never designed for. Look at this winter, we had the 18 inches of snow. You put that on top of the roof with all these solar panels on there. We're lucky we didn't have no more building collapses. These roofs are, especially in the older homes where I live, these roofs are not designed for these type of systems or that type of weight that's on there. So we're running into a lot of hazards. If we do have anything, we have to tackle it from ladders. We can't put anybody even up on the roof right now.
Gotcha.
So, and like I said, we purchased 2 of them. So we have them if we need them. I'll be training on that as well. We're also looking, going to work with 134 to have a prop for us that it's going to be mobile that we can go around from department to department also to show what the hazards with it as well. The only nice thing about the residential systems is they don't have the systems for the battery backups or battery storage. Commercial systems will. So the tollway garage, if you look on the east side of the garage there, they have room that's all filled with batteries. So, and that's another hazard in itself.
Roger Early was excused in the meeting tonight. He had no obligation, but are they installing like cutoff switches where you can access those?
Yeah, typically they're outside where your electric meter is. That's where the inverter is.
Okay.
Sometimes the inverter is part of the shutoff switch. Sometimes they'll have a separate one. So we have access to making sure there's no more power going into the building. It's the problem with the solar panels up to that point that we have no control over. The nice thing about this PV stop is it will not permanently damage the solar panels. So it's a polymer, so it's a rubber plastic based material. So you spray it over there, it actually completely blocks out the solar panel, shuts it down. It becomes tacky in 4 or 5 minutes, and then about an hour or so it becomes a little bit harder. When it's done, you can actually peel it back off again. So
I'm just going to
So
ask
it's not
that.
permanently damaged anything.
Yeah, we don't want to damage their stuff.
No,
right.
exactly. So that's what we're looking at also, is it's something to stop it so they can fix the problem, whatever the problem might be.
Okay.
And there's, like I said, there's nothing else out there. The only thing that's ever been out there is if you happen to have like a blackout tarp, but the way these things are shaped and designed, yeah.
Do we have a blackout tarp?
What's that?
Good luck throwing it over.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. Sorry, Mayor.
No, I was, yeah, do we even have one of those right now, Chief, a blackout tarp?
No.
Okay.
No, the ones you buy at the stores and all that, they don't completely block it out. We used to have old canvas ones
Yeah.
that were really heavy, but again, trying to get it on there, now you still have to manhandle it to tie it down. You're still putting people up there.
Gotcha. All right.
So this is the best system that's out there right now, and I just want to make sure that we address it on our hazard. These companies are making a ton of money coming in, so we need to protect our homeowners, we need to protect our firefighters also, so gives us a device and avenue to be able to do that and also recover our costs in case we do use it.
I've watched these guys on a few homes. Actually, a guy right across the street just had it done, and they get these things done quick, too. They're done
yeah.
in a day when they put them out, so,
All right.
okay.
Yep. The last part was the valve. So a couple years ago, we replaced the ladder in 2014. We've had a problem with the valving itself. It's one big valve that operates everything hydraulically on there. The ladder truck is 19 years old this year. When they built it, the valve was built in Sweden. That was a technology they used back then. It was a combination of both steel and aluminum. Over a period of time with just natural use, it starts warping. We've had the valve rebuilt twice at about a cost of $8,000. It is starting to weep again, so we are able to do some things to slow it down, but we're going to have to take that valve and we're going to have to retrofit it. It's about $20,000. I was originally going to bring it up to move forward with that a little bit quicker, but unfortunately, like everything else, it's 5 months to get the parts for it right now. So the truck is not out of service. There's things that we're doing right now to be able to use it, but it's going to have to get retrofitted. So, and it's built into this year's budget line as well. So,
Chief, when you and I were talking about this, Chief, and again, when we talk hydraulics, these aren't the two pistons on the side of that thing and
no,
stuff.
it's a valving system. It's actually in the pedestal, and all the hydraulic lines go to this valve. It's a large valve. It does everything. So they actually take it and split it up in 3 different smaller valves, so it makes it easier to repair if you have to repair it.
Right.
So,
Just that when
but I
we talk
guess I got a little
hydraulics,
time for that
everybody
one.
immediately thinks it's the two pistons. And,
yeah, no, I wish it was
it's a
that
lot more
easy.
involved,
Yeah,
so.
unfortunately, it's not. Any questions on the bid packets at all or the proposed ordinance? So I sent the sample ordinance. If everybody's good with that, I'll reach out to the attorney this week and have him draft it and then bring it up for next week, and then we can move forward with it.
Very good. Trustee Murphy, anything else?
That's all, sir.
Okay.
I think that's enough.
Really. And then we'll go to Police and Traffic Safety. Trustee Dalzell.
We get the presentation of the Police Department 2020 Annual Activity Report. Chief Miller distributed that, and it's a really nice report. I'd like to go over some of the highlights from it. On the accomplishments, there's the Federal Use of Force certification. December 17th of 2020, the Alsip Police Department received its certification from the Illinois Chiefs Association of Chiefs of Police. Also, a bicycle patrol unit was developed, and they have 5 certified bike officers. A traffic unit was implemented. The department received awards for the Alliance Against Intoxicated Motorists, AAIM. Officers Dan Kenny, Vince Gonzalez, Michael Saley, Janet Howell, Jack Goldsmith, and Kyle Forsyth. Field training officers, officers Mike Pentoa, Justin Riley, James Brongil, and Mike Saley. The truck enforcement program, there's 2 officers involved with that, officers Jake Thompson and Mike Jensen. For the accident investigations, there was a total of 950 total accidents, and they had 1 accident that had been, their reconstruction was performed. They had 0 fatal accidents there. The department has a individual, Officer Justin Riley. He's a certified accident reconstructionist, and then they have certified accident investigators, and those are Officer Jack Goldsmith, Sergeant Curtis Rainey, and Lieutenant Valerie Emick. The Crisis Intervention Team, CIT, there are 6 certified CIT officers who performed over 100 cases this past year. In that CIT team are Lieutenant Valerie Emick, Officers Rocco Merlo, Mike Pintoa, Mike Jensen, Balil Halim, Vincent Gonzalez, and Margaret Wildner. The administrative division is comprised of Chief Jay Mueller, Deputy Chief Sean Schultz, Administrative Assistant Debbie Delzell, and the Information Technologies Brian Massari. In the Patrol Division, headed by Lieutenant Kevin Mikos, there's 6 sergeants: Harold Gutierrez, Josh Spencer, Chad Resney, Curtis Rainey, and Michael Delaire. 23 patrol officers: James Brongil, James Tishko, Justin Riley, Nicole Byers, Hector Puente, Mike Pintoa, Mike Saley, Justin Sawicki, Brian McIntyre, Kevin Hayes, Vince Gonzalez, Dan Kenny, Caitlin Klopp, Jake Thompson, Mike Jensen, Margaret Wildner, Kyle Forsyth, Janet Howell, Jack Goldsmith, Balil Hilam, Dennis Stevens, and Mark Pedzimas, sorry, and Heather Fain. Almost made them all. Investigations Division, headed by Lieutenant Todd Gukowski, with investigators James Kelly, Lem McKinney, Dan Heimendinger, Nikki Udelis, and Paul Miklajek. Crime Prevention Programs, Officer Rocco Merlo. He's done just absolute yeoman's job performing Neighborhood Watch, Business Safety Liaison, Gun Safety Lock, Crime Hazards, Fee Applicants, National Coffee with a Cop, Drug Takeback, Elderly Service Officer, False Alarm, Smart 911, Internet Safety, Home Security, Crime-Free Multi-Housing, and Citizen and Business Survey Programs. The evidence technicians were Officers Jason Slowicki, James Brongil, Kyle Forsyth, Rocco Merlo, Mike Pintoa, Justin Riley, and James Tishko. The K-9 unit, it's K-9 Knox, and handler is Officer Jack Goldsmith. Range officers are Officers Nicole Byers, Len McKinney, Dennis Stevens, Lieutenant Kevin Mikos, and Deputy Chief Sean Schultz. Records unit was Dawn Meyer and Rebecca Keating. Community service officers, we have 3 presently: Mike Swagel, Fernando Flores Jr., and Tatiana Robinson. During the year, there was 2 promotions: Valerie Emick to the rank of lieutenant and Mike Dolier to the rank of sergeant. New hires was Mark Pedzimas and Heather Fain. The 2020 statistics: 27,934 law enforcement calls for service, 1,156 warning citations, and 1,298 state citations. There was 3,479 traffic stops. There were 4 overdose saves, well done, 367 misdemeanor arrests, and 50 felony arrests. Future programs planned is the Illinois Law Enforcement Accreditation Program, ILEAP, the Alsip Police Department mobile app, and then the ever wonderful House Bill 3653 Police Reform Bill. And I would hope that everyone had an opportunity to peruse through this wonderful information, and these are simply highlights of a department that's done a phenomenal job. And then the department would like to request to purchase 4 Dodge Ram trucks in the amount not to exceed $118,000, which is $29,500 each, from Thomas Dodge. Thomas Dodge is the lowest price and holds a state contract for Illinois and Indiana, and is part of the Suburban Purchasing Co-op. Chief, do you have an approximate for what the outfitting cost would be?
We're at about $10,000 per vehicle to outfit, depending upon what we're able to salvage.
Okay. And that's all I have for the report. If there's any questions of the chief regarding his wonderful report, please direct him his way.
I love the pictures, Jay.
Chief, great report, and a couple of notable things here too as well too. That first off, as far as traffic stats go, and obviously, Trustee Dalzell, I appreciate you reading all that into the record too, because really the men and women of the police department are doing just a phenomenal job. In 2018, the village experienced 1,105 accidents. In 2019, it went down to 1,104 accidents. You talk about, but then, as you said, last year, we only had 950, which was great. We're down 200 and some accidents and stuff.
I'd like to take all the credit for that, but a lot of it was COVID when people were staying at home.
Yeah.
Less
Come on,
traffic.
Chief. I was
If you're going to take credit for the COVID?
Really, I was fluffing that one up a little, and certainly we sympathize with the 950 people that had a problem, and too, but, I like the tally at the end here, too. The Alsip police officer responded to over 27,394 calls for service in 2020. Officers only used force 50 times in 2020, resulting in force being used on only less than 1% of all their calls and stuff then too. So this study shows that most contacts with the Alsip police result in no force being used, and that's huge to me. That's phenomenal. And no deadly force was used in 2020. 6 officers were injured and had to seek medical attention due to actions with offenders in 2020, and this is a 6-fold increase from 2019, where we had a bunch of, bumps and bruises and so forth then too. So, no incidents of response to resident resistance or aggression involving an off-duty personnel were reported. And during 2020, all sworn employees received yearly training on Alsip Police Department Policy 320, otherwise known as the use of force policies and stuff then too. That's great. All use of force incidents have a 3-tier review that first goes to the officer's sergeant then as reviewed by the lieutenant, and finally by the deputy chief then too. So Chief, I appreciate you putting all those safeguards in place for us then too. And that's really the way to run a great department too. Chief, great job. And I agree with Trustee Dalzell. It's a really good report, and I did read this and stuff then too. A lot of good information that you had in there. The thing that stood out for me too, aside from, like I said, that it was the use of force thing for me. I mean, it's important to all citizens to know that we're using a reasonable decision-making, when we're involved in situational issues. But also, I really appreciate some of your officers being involved in our new bicycle patrol. I tell you, I think it's just a nice thing to have, where you interact with your community even more. And you were the one, you implemented the community policing program back then, where when the weather's nice, we get out of the car for half an hour on every shift and interact with the public and so forth then too. So.
Just give a chance to the people that we normally don't deal with to see us in a different way, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure the bike guys aren't going to be too happy to see their picture in there with their shorts on, but hey.
I'm telling you, I went out there and watched him train when you brought in the training officer from, I think he was from Naperville maybe, but those guys can lay down a skid the length of a parking lot by the time they got done and stuff yet too. It was pretty cool. But no, I appreciate the enthusiasm. Actually, my niece, she's on the bike patrol unit for Chicago Police downtown, and they run those things year-round in the city and all that yet too. I don't want to bring that up to your guys just yet, but exactly. So
18 inches of snow.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, Chief, wonderful job. Thank you, and again, thank all everybody you can. We appreciate their hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have, Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Trustee Dalzell. Public Work and Boat Launch, Trustee Juarez.
I have a request approval to purchase 20 trees through the Northwest Suburban Tree Consortium in the amount not to exceed $14,000. Cost includes the installation and planting of trees and mulch. I have a request for an approval to hire 2 temporary part-time employees for the boat launch at $11 an hour, and a request and approval to hire 6 temporary full-time employees for the Public Works Department to work this summer season at $11 an hour for 14 weeks. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Mike, Mike Frederick's here, Superintendent. Mike, I didn't get a chance to see you. You're supposed to be on vacation. Of course, you found something better to do by coming out to a meeting tonight. That's great. Mike, thank you for meeting that fishing tournament early Saturday morning. Mike went out at 5 in the morning to open up the bathrooms for all those guys. Did they show up with their 40 or 50 fishermen?
Yeah, when I was out there that morning, there was already probably 20 boats out.
Okay.
5 a.m. And I went back at 5:30. 30 to close it up, there was still probably 30.
Really? So he told, I got a call at the last minute last week asking if they could use our boat launch. They had like 40 or 50 boaters going out, some fishermen. They had a tournament, and they had a schedule at the last second, and they knew we were closed. And I want to thank Dan Triben and Water. Danny got the bathrooms opened up, and Mike made the facilities clean and everything up there. We got the gates open, and guys, thanks much for your help in doing that. And they did pay the regular $10 launch fees, and we did remind everybody that, in fact, they even offered to make, he's supposed to be getting back to us with some sort of tributary for the village as well, too, so we'll see how that shakes out. But we've got another one next weekend, too, I believe. So everybody's, these anglers, man, they're getting out early in the season and stuff. They ain't waiting for, well, no, actually, April 1st is smelt season. Get out there with your smelt and that
more
kind of
days.
thing. Yeah, so,
Mayor, I have a question. There was a fishing tournament in the CalSag?
yes. No, that's just where they launch. I don't know where those guys went, but that's where
Okay.
they launched and stuff.
And is there smelt in the CalSag?
I wouldn't even know.
Okay,
that
just
kind of
wanted to
thing.
make
So,
sure.
Yeah. But Mike, I want to thank you and Dan both. Thanks, guys, for taking care of that so quickly. And how's we're okay? I know, Mike, you told me you just fixed the docks, the piers, right?
Right, on the east side,
On the east side, so everything's good to go?
a few days before the tournament.
Excellent, okay. All right, thanks, guys. Trustee Juarez, anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay. Sewer and water, Trustee Nava Esparza.
Thank you. I have discussion of the request for authorization to purchase a 45K VA Generac mobile backup generator through Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract at a cost not to exceed $28,181.40. I also have requests for approval to hire 4 full-time seasonal personnel for a period not to exceed 14 weeks. And that's all I have.
Very good, thank you. Excuse me, thank you.
How much-
Building and Health, Trustee Zelinski.
How much is that an hour for those hires?
I believe all hires are,
It should be the same.
The same?
The $11.
they're all $11,
$11,
right?
okay.
I don't know why I was thinking that they were a little bit more than that all the time, but that's where we're at, we're $11 with that?
Yeah, I don't think we've raised it in a while.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Building and Health, Trustee Zelinski.
I have a request for approval to hire 2 full-time summer personnel for a period not to exceed 14 weeks. Also, I have a request for an approval for a variance for a 6-foot-high fence in front of the building line at 12450 South Mansfield Avenue. That's all I have under Building and Health.
You know, Trustee, did you look at that scenario, that fence?
I did not.
I did look at it online, and it's a corner house, but the problem is there's a neighbor whose driveway would come out immediately where the fence is.
So they won't
there's a-
have room to like peek around.
Right, that's what my concern would be, because I mean, the corner house, this one sits this way, or I don't know, it's easier to look at online, but I said the neighbor's driveway definitely would be impacted by the fence on the one side.
Oh, there's a plat of survey that's in here.
There is a plow survey, and I did look at this myself as well. Let's put it this way. It doesn't really demonstrate, that plot of survey, let's look at this real quick. We gotta look at these kind of things. We can't just push these through sometimes if they're gonna extend in front of the house.
The other thing I didn't like, at least my interpretation on the survey, is that the fence would be running down the middle of the easement?
It's their responsibility, though, if there's an issue.
Yeah, that's on them for access, but and it does specify, I'd like to see a bill of sale to confirm before it goes up, but it does say they're going to go with the chain link fence, so you should be able to look through it, but they want to put up a 6-foot chain link fence. You know, this isn't just a typical fence, this is a 6-footer that's going up there, and again, you know, even when everyone's looking at your plot of survey here, it's telling you that they want to go 12
foot.
feet out past the house, but it doesn't really say how short we are of the sidewalk, like in a way, like what is 12 feet? I mean, we're looking at a drawing, I don't know that it's accurate.
I was saying the other part, the drawing doesn't indicate where the neighbor's house is either, that you, so
I
you
did
can't
what
see
you
that
did.
driveway.
I actually did the Google map, and I looked at it from an overhead view, and it's kind of wild where on that return street, that's a cul-de-sac, and it's kind of funny how the homes don't really go, the homes aren't squared up with the house next to it, the homes are slightly,
They're slightly tilted, yep.
crooked, because they go with the street. So, I'm going to defer back to the building department, building commissioner on this, to get a little more guidance on this yet, too, because, like I said, this plot is, oh, wait a minute, here it is right here. The plot of survey is showing that from the building to the sidewalk, if there's a sidewalk, because it's not in this drawing, is showing it at 24 feet. So that line is maybe slightly deceiving, because the line looks like it's slightly back, like toward closer to the house, but really that's right down that you're splitting that difference in half is what you're doing.
Well, it's probably a 25-foot setback.
Right. I just think we need to look at that closer, Trustee Zelinski, before we push that through. I certainly want to help the homeowner if we could, but again, how far do we want to have that fence? And I didn't see any other fences in that neighborhood, or any other homes where they had a fence that far out in front of their house.
I'm not sure about the neighborhood, but we've had this instance come up before where it was blocking the view from the resident coming out into the street, and we allowed it because it was a chain link fence.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'd like to almost see some sort of an agreement or some sort of bill of sale that totally says this is what they're doing, because even on the estimated cost that they showed here, you know, they're showing a price here of like a fence rather that's almost like 40 feet one way by, I don't know, 14 feet the other by 6 feet tall, with an estimated cost of only $814, and I would think it'd be a lot more than something like that to throw up a 6-foot fence like that then too. So I want to make sure, I'd like to make sure that that's exactly what we're approving.
Well, maybe they're just moving that fence.
Pardon me?
So maybe they're just moving that fence, they're going to add 24 feet, 12 foot on both sides by moving the fence over. But even with the chain link, you have to make sure that at some point in time, they don't decide that they're going to put slats in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All of a sudden it became a privacy fence. I will defer to Mr. Early tomorrow and get some better direction before we take this to a vote then too, just to make sure that we are agreeing to exactly what's being proposed. And as you said, Trustee, that it starts off as a chain link and also we put slats in it or something like that then too for privacy purposes. And as Trustee McGlohan pointed out, that also it became an obstruction for somebody getting out of their driveway or something like that then too. So again, we want to support the homeowner if we can, but let's do it right. I didn't see any other fences that protruded 12 feet out from their house. Anything else, Trustee?
No, that's all.
Okay. Then we'll go on to Human Resource and Insurance, Trustee Murphy.
No report this evening, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Special Committee Reports, Economic Development, Trustee Nava-Esparza.
I just had an update. In a previous village board meeting, I mentioned that we should consider revisiting our existing comprehensive plan and Pulaski Road Action Plan. However, due to the uncertainty of the pandemic at the time, which was last year, and then we still have uncertainty now, but obviously we have the vaccine and the mitigations are somewhat being loosened. I held off from actively asking about services a consultant can provide to assist with branding, placemaking, and highlighting economic development projects either village-wide or for distinct corridors such as the Pulaski Business District. Mayor Ryan and I met virtually with a communications firm that has experience working with a number of municipal clients so that we can learn more about services that an agency like that would be able to provide us. The communications firm offered to provide a proposal, and I'd be happy to share it with the board when I receive it. One item, you know, we don't always need to rely on a consultant for some beautification efforts or branding and so forth. And one item that I propose, and I've actually asked a department head about it, is about removing the "It's on Pulaski" signage. I can add this item for further discussion under the Economic Development Committee for the next Village Board Committee meeting, which, if I'm not mistaken, is April 12th, and that's all I have about that. If
Okay.
anyone has any questions.
Not at this time, but, you know, I did want to mention to you, Trustee, that moving forward, I haven't presented my budget yet in the, for the upcoming year, but I am going to ask the board to approve appropriating money for economic development consulting, that I want to promote more economic development on Cicero Avenue, and that will be in my budget this year to do that yet, too. Is I want to see more economic development on Cicero Avenue.
Okay.
Also, this past Friday, Thursday or Friday, I did have some conversation with both, conversation with Starbucks and Firewater, and I believe they're both going to submit RFPs that are due here on April 12th.
No, the RFP the advertisement was to have them back to you on April 16th.
16th, sorry. Okay, April 16th is when they come back. So we do have interest from both parties.
Okay.
So we'll see. The board can evaluate, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think there's a number of development projects that have come across, Alsip. We had the opportunity to have businesses call Alsip home and so forth, and how are we actually actively highlighting those accomplishments, and most recently would also be the Rebuild Illinois investment that we have from the state level to further attract additional potential businesses to Alsip as well, and also as part of a bigger placemaking strategy to, when people drive through our community, that they know that they are in Alsip and not just driving through on Pulaski or driving through on Cicero and so forth.
Well, Roger and I met with a local business, I think it was Friday, and we talked more about it today, but we do have interest in developing the El Stordo property now, too.
Oh, great.
So it's quite possible you're going to see all that come down, and professional offices possibly going in there. But we'll bring it back to the board once we have more on paper.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next, Village Properties, Trustee McGlohan.
Under Village Properties, I have 3 separate requests, each for 2 full-time personnel, 2 for the Village Hall, 2 for Heritage 1, and 2 for Heritage 2, each not to exceed a period of 14 weeks. And it doesn't specify, but these would also be at the $11 an hour rate. The only thing is I didn't get a chance to talk to Mr. Early in terms of what he would have these positions doing. So I will include additional information for the board meeting next week.
All right, very good. Ordinance legislation, Trustee Zelinski.
I have a request for approval on an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, approving the reservation of volume cap in connection with private activities bond issued and related matters. That's all I have tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Next, Planning and Zoning and Licenses, Trustee Juarez.
I have a presentation of a list of licenses dated March 8th, 2021 through March 6th, 2021. I have a discussion of the lighting along Costner Avenue must face eastward or downward, and discussion to build a 3 to 4 foot berm on the 8 to 10 foot high fence depending on ordinance height along the perimeter of gas station on the Costner side, and discussion of directional signage on both 127th and Costner and 127th and Colon, directing trucks to enter gas and wash by the way of 127th and Colon Avenue south of 128th Place, to turn right on 128th Place to entrance of gas and wash for truck fueling area. So we talked about this last week, and Trustee Zelinski, you met with, this went through planning and zoning, right?
It was with the owners, or people that were going to construct the gas and wash, and one of the residents, the Homeowner Association, gentleman, John Gray, and they came together, and this was the this was the result of their conversation and what they would be happy with if the people constructing the project would be able to do, and they said they would be able to do all of this. We did discuss at one point if a berm was even necessary, or if the fence, the decorative fence, could just be a particular height if it wasn't going to make the fence stable.
Certainly. So who put this on the agenda? You?
I believe Trustee Warren
I put it on the agenda when we discussed it last week. There was the conversation between, Mayor, you addressed it. You didn't know if you can put the berm on top of the slab.
Right.
So we said we were going to find out about it, but nobody put it on the agenda, so I did. So I don't know if it was.
All right. So Roger Early and I just spoke with Gas and Wash, and we told them, first off, like I had said to you last week, we should have been involved in that conversation. You know, I mean, they can agree on whatever they want between parties, but that doesn't mean it's, number one, it's structurally sound, and two, if it's even permissible in some cases yet too. And Commissioner Early disagrees with their with the agreement. Commissioner Early says absolutely not. He does not want to put a like that fence is almost 65 feet long. He's not putting a 65-foot fence by possibly as high as 10 foot tall on top of a 4-foot berm. And, you know, we got Gas and Wash and their attorney on the phone. We got everybody involved on a conference call, and they agreed that, you know, they says, well, we met with the homeowners association. I'm like, great, but you need to have us in the room. You need to have an engineer or a representative in the room. You folks can't just work stuff out that we don't believe is structurally sound. And at the end of the conversation, they agreed. They agreed that meeting was basically, now they're a little bit upset because that meeting was actually a waste of time because now they got to call a meeting all over again. I talked to Mike Hackett this afternoon, and actually he called me as well too, and they're trying to get hold of Mr. Gray, and Mr. Gray is a truck driver, so he's not the easiest person to get a hold of and stuff then too. And we need to start that conversation all over again because the village has to be involved in that meeting. I have to have Roger Early in there, or possibly even like a village engineer of some type, but we can't take, if you build a berm that's 4 foot tall, you lose, exactly, you lose 8 feet in width of the ground that's going to hold that thing up. And then structurally, to plop a 10-foot fence on top of that, it's going to have a ton of weight. At some point, that thing can get held up and get flimsy and everything else, and then if we allow that to happen, I don't care if it's a year or 10 years down the road, they're going to say, we approved it, and we're not fixing it. And so it's on us, and we're not assuming that liability. So what has to happen right now, they need to call a meeting, they need to have us in the room, and we need to sign off on that, not just the two parties, because, you know, like anything else, you know, we told them, you know, if you want to go with a taller fence, that's your prerogative and stuff then too, but we'd almost rather see a solid foundation that fence can be anchored to, and in the event it ever is damaged or broke, you know, because what happens again is that the taller you keep building that berm, it's going to cut into like what they have proposed for a water retention, and we can't lose that. We need the water retention over there then too. We'd rather see it stand on the ground on a solid foundation and just have a straight fence there, because we're not trying to create an obstruction to the street at the same time. All that traffic that comes out of the flea market is going to come right past all that then too. We'd like to pass it sooner than later and not have so much of an obstruction to the street. So Roger wants to be involved in that conversation. Gas and Wash is trying to contact Mr. Gray so that there's representation there, because that's the only way this is going to get done. And I told all parties, don't bring that back. And they're on a clock now too, because they've got a windows of investment and stuff like that then too. They've only got like a month to get this done, and the last thing we wanted to do was slow them down. That just slowed them down. So we need to get them back to the table as soon as possible to make that happen. I've been working with these guys for over a year, and that's the last thing I want to see is have any kind of funding get sidestepped. And again, for all I know, it's just their way of pushing maybe a little bit to get something done. But again, this is a $5.5 million investment, and we need to work with these guys. So nothing's going to happen until that agreement's worked out and until they sit down with our representatives to make that happen.
That's all, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Did anyone have any presentations, petitions, or communications?
I did, Mayor, if I may. Just an update that the polling places for Precinct 8 and 34, Precinct 8 is Cozy Homes, 123rd, 127th at Costner, and across the street here from Village Hall, and 34 is south of 127th Street. They normally would poll on Election Day at Apollo. They are now being moved to Aquatic Park, like they had in the fall for the presidential election.
All right, did anybody have any unfinished business?
Mayor, can I get a consensus on those vehicles, please? I forgot to do it when we talked about them.
Sure.
We're on a,
Down and getting 3 now.
we're on a time, I'm getting you one free basically here. It's buy 3, get 1, you know. We're on a time crunch here, and it's
Can
going
we
to,
get
before the line closes down for the year, and then they're going to be, it's going to be about 120 days turnaround on them, so.
Right, and I did want to add, Chief, I'm totally, you and I took out that Dodge Ram. It's a $10,000 savings as opposed to what we used to spend on Explorers. I'm totally for it. I think the trucks are great. But just so everyone understands too, we're not abandoning sedans, you know, because in many cases, you're not going to get some folks to climb all the way up in that truck and stuff, and we got to have still practical vehicles for people too.
Correct. This first year, we're trying to catch up on our vehicle purchases. We have a lot of ones that have gone down, a lot of ones with high mileage, so this was an alternative, cost-effective alternative. Next year, we'll probably do a split between the Durangos and stuff like that.
That'd be great. All right, so then I'd ask the clerk at this time to conduct a consensus for the request to purchase 4 Dodge Ram trucks in an amount not to exceed $118,000. That's actually $29,500 each from Thomas Dodge. Thomas Dodge is the lowest price and holds a state contract for Illinois and Indiana for the Suburban Purchasing Co-op.
This is for the consensus. Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Navas-Barza.
Yes.
Chief Miller, you have your consensus.
All right. Any other unfinished business?
Yes. 2 weeks ago, I asked for the table item M. Just received the answers for the questions I had this morning, so I can put this back on the agenda for next week's meeting to be voted on. You just got the attorney and also HR manager, our new HR manager, to give me the answers to the questions that I had.
Okay, so I don't have, oh, wait a minute.
Approval of the salary ordinance.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I don't have I don't have last week's agenda here in front of me then too, so. You want to, can I see that one? Thanks. So item N was the approval of an ordinance establishing compensation for the appointed office of the finance director of the Village of Alsip. So you want to,
I'll put that back on the agenda for
next week,
Yes.
at next meeting? Okay.
I did have a question regarding that. Should we be just updating the previous all-inclusive ordinance that we have for all of the non-union salaried employees? Because that line was, I believe it's
Zeroed out.
It was
it's
zeroed
currently
out.
zeroed out. And then do we also need to
HR manager.
update the HR manager as well, so we could do that all at one time?
I'll ask, yeah, well, I'll have to ask the attorney to, you know, I'll have him draft one for us, and we'll include those numbers and stuff then too. Any new business? You know, before we adjourn, I do have another commitment next Monday night, so I'm not going to be available. I've got another obligation I need to attend to. So certainly you're welcome to hold a meeting unless anybody else feels the same way. If you're not going to be available Monday night, that's up to you. So, otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Then we'll adjourn this meeting at 8:50 p.m. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, folks.